Well, hey there, my friend. Welcome back to the show. My name is Deanna Yates, and you are listening to episode 273 of the Wannabe Clutter-Free podcast. Summer is officially over. It's the week after Labor Day, whether we like it or not. And so, for most of us, that means new schedules, new routines that are shifting around. It's a fresh season ahead, right? Fall is here. It's one of my favorite times, actually, to reassess and declutter, not just our homes, but our lives, our mindsets, all of those things. Because that back to school energy in the air, it's just like a great opportunity to see what's working, what's not, and how to make our spaces and our schedules support our families in the best way possible. And so that's why I am very excited to introduce my guest, Stacy Lee. Stacy is the owner of Minimally and a professional organizer certified in Marie Kondo's KonMari Method. With simple steps, compassionate coaching, and curated solutions, Stacy helps her clients escape overwhelm to cultivate organized spaces that supercharge their lifestyles with joy. And in this conversation, we talk about how the KonMari Method, the mindset around that, can transform not only your home, but your lifestyle. It can help you live with more intention, clarity, and yes, of course, joy, because it really starts with that question of what sparks joy. But it doesn't end there. So if you've ever tried it and it didn't work for you, or you feel on the fence, give this episode a listen because it might surprise you how she actually implements the process with her clients, and you're going to get a lot of takeaways from today as well. Because Stacy shares how she guides clients through that process, how to tackle the emotional side of letting go, and ways to apply these principles to areas like your routines and even your mindset that you might not have thought about before. And so if you've been feeling the urge for a reset, today might just be the inspiration that you need to actually get started. But before we jump in, I want to say thank you, of course, to you for spending some time with me today. If you enjoy this episode, please hit that follow or subscribe button so you don't miss any of the amazing conversations coming up. And if you really enjoy it, can you leave a rating and a review on any of the podcast listeners where you're listening to this today? It would really help out the show and it just makes me feel great knowing that I'm helping you on your journey. All right, remember you can always connect with me on Instagram. I'm at Wannabe Clutter Free. Or you can join our private Facebook community, the Wannabe Minimalist Family Group, where we talk all things decluttering, organizing, and creating a life you love. All right, let's dive into it. All right. Well, hey, Stacy, welcome to Wannabe Clutter Free. How you doing today?
I'm good, Deanna. It's so nice to connect with you finally.
It is. I know you were one of the speakers at my latest summit. And so it was really nice to get to meet you that way. But this is the first time we're getting to sit down for a face-to-face as I do my air quote interview. And so it's just going to be a really fun conversation. But before we get into that conversation, can you please introduce yourself and tell listeners who you are and what you do?
Awesome. Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Stacy Lee, and I'm a professional organizer, certified KonMari consultant, and owner of Minimally, which is a service that specializes in KonMari style decluttering and organizing. I'm based in Southern California, Huntington Beach specifically, and I have been working with my clients in their homes, in their offices, and virtually since 2019.
I love it. And I love the name of your business, Minimally. I love it because her last name's Lee, everyone, just in case you didn't get that part in the intro. But what inspired you to become a KonMari consultant and start Minimally? Was there part of your journey that you had kind of a spark joy moment, or what led you down this path?
So it all started for me when I actually read Marie Kondo's book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, and I just completely fell in love with the concept. It truly is a very, I feel like, holistic and heart-centered approach to decluttering and getting organized. So I am instantly connected with the terms of like joy and gratitude, which it's based in. And while I've always been someone who, ever since I was young, was pretty organized and enjoyed organizing on my own, it really gave me this fuller picture of why we want to get organized, like what the end result is for it, which is really to help us create a more joyful life and allow us to do the things we want to do. So to me, it was just like, that's the reason. That's the reason that we want to get organized, not just to have a perfect, tidy home, but really so that we can live the lives we want to live. And I would say my like spark joy catalyst for becoming an organizer was really just, I had always thought about doing something like this. And it was finally just like listening and leaning into that joy and trying. And I've never looked back. It's been one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done. And I super love it. And I love being in support of others and helping them achieve that as well.
Love that. Yeah, that's super fun. And yeah, if anybody has not heard of the KonMari Method or that book, where have you been? I feel like it took the world by storm, and it just really was a way of, yeah, putting a new spin on something and giving you that full holistic approach. Because I do think that decluttering and organizing and the stuff in our lives is not just about the physical stuff, right? It touches so many different aspects of our lives, pretty much every aspect of our life. And so I love that you don't take it just from that approach too. It's not just organizing the stuff, it is for the life that you want to be living. Yeah. So how do you help your clients apply the mindset to their lives and not just their physical stuff?
So we always start with the physical stuff to begin with, because I think it's the practice, and that's where we start with the stuff. The things that we own really are supposed to support the lifestyles that we lead, right? We're the things we want our home to be in alignment with what our priorities are, what our values are. So we start with the stuff, and that usually informs us to the larger picture, because when we're asking about ideal lifestyles, which is one thing we start with in the KonMari Method of what are your goals? What do you want to create more of in your life? Or how do you want to be feeling in your home? It informs us of the sorts of things that you might want to keep, right? So if someone says, oh, like in my ideal lifestyle, I would start every day with yoga. That tells me that, okay, there's certain yoga, probably exercise clothes that are going to be important. We want all the yoga equipment to be accessible. We want a space in the home that feels peaceful to do yoga. And then we break it down through that. So I say we start with the ideal lifestyle and the things, and that sort of decision-making process, the exercise of going through your things and really intentionally thinking about why you're keeping things, can then start to translate to life stuff. One of the things I really like to do is get into this problem-solving mindset of, okay, if this is something that I ask, does this bring them joy? And they are like hemming and hawing about it. I don't immediately say, hey, you should get rid of it. We start asking questions about what is causing this pause sort of idea. And usually the reason is not basically the thing, it's connected to something emotional or some sort of decision that they're wrestling with, and we tackle it from there. So the idea is that the things and the decisions in our lives are very connected. So we start with the thing and we kind of branch out to the life. And I think a lot of times how we go through about our lives is also sometimes reflected in our homes.
For sure. Oh, for sure. I think a lot of the women who listen to this podcast, I think a lot of them suffer from people pleasing tendency. If you're a people pleaser, I've found that you struggle to let go of things because you feel like it's going to offend someone else if it was a gift, or even if you had memories with someone and that thing. Yeah, definitely. I think our physical homes do reflect a lot of the inside, whether that's peace, turmoil, chaos, whatever, how we're feeling does definitely reflect on the outside as well.
Yeah. And I think with your people pleasing example, which is such a great example because a lot of people are in that boat, it's like giving yourself the permission in many ways. And that just the permission to let go of the thing is also the permission to have boundaries, right? The permission to lean into your joy and do self care and put yourself first. So that's how it's connected. You start with the thing and then it ripples out to other parts of your life.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, can you walk us through maybe a powerful before and after transformation that you've helped facilitate? Maybe it's physical, but maybe it's emotional or probably both. And then share maybe how, that what changed for your client through this process.
Yeah. So one of my favorite stories, I would say, is it was actually one of my very first clients. I worked with a family. And so it was a mother, a father, and a daughter. And I thought this was so wonderful. And I'll say I work with them individually as well. So what I thought was so wonderful is because they all did it, meant that they prioritized getting organized and making tidying and gratitude and joy part of their kind of family values. It's something that they shared the language of, "Oh, I'm thanking this item," or "This item doesn't bring me joy," or "Then I really love this." That was something they could all share and discuss, and I think it was just so awesome for the parents to also be modeling that for the child as well, who she was, I think, 7 when we did this. Yeah. So I worked with them, and we did individually every single thing in their house, so it was a big priority and commitment to do that. And so along the way, we're teaching them how to not only do the steps because a lot of it's a skill set. So I'm teaching them how to go about the approach to take so that they can continue to do that on their own. But we also learned how to fold clothes, techniques for storage, how to display joyful and sentimental items. And afterwards, I asked the mother, who was the first client that I worked with, what surprised her most about this experience. And she shared that it was this immense gratitude that she felt towards her life, her things, and people. And she was not expecting that from just decluttering and letting things go. And at this time, her daughter was a very prolific artist. Like, she loved to draw little notes, cartoons, and things. So she always loved to keep them, right, as the mother, because they were just so cute. And one of the things we did, which I think was really powerful for her, is that we made sure that these little precious displays of art were displayed in different areas of the home. So instead of them being packed away or filed away, certain things were displayed in areas. And one of my favorite examples was she drew something that had to the effect of coffee on it. And my client was a big coffee drinker. She had a little coffee station area, and it was just a little cabinet that you'd open. And I said, "What if we put that little artwork, like, in the back of the coffee station, so when you open it, you see it right there above your mugs?" And she loved that idea, and it just makes me so happy every time I just open up and I get a glance at that drawing. I think it was so powerful for them to do it all together, and especially for their young daughter to do it at such a young age, to get that kind of skill set in and build on it as they continue. And since then, this family has moved out of state, but I actually recently had dinner with them. And so the daughter's now like 12. But she told me, "Stacy, we use your method all the time." And it just really goes to show that, like, it's a skill set, but also it can be truly life changing. And it just makes me so happy that they continue to have that sense of joy and gratitude about their things. And there's so much research about how having gratitude can really improve our mindsets and our joy. And so I think coming at it from that angle as well is really helpful.
Yeah, and I think that was a really powerful example. One, what a wonderful age to have started this with their child, because I think that's such a great age where they can absolutely make decisions for themselves and really take ownership of the things they keep. I know a lot of people ask, how young should you start decluttering with your kids, or at what point should you involve your kids? And I think always involve your kids. But I think at that age, she really could see a transformation for herself and feel it and then want to continue it. So I think that's great. I know a lot of parents listening to this sometimes feel like they're too late and they've already screwed up their kids and it's going to be so difficult and they don't want to participate and all that kind of stuff. But I think they really do. And if your children are struggling, I think the time is now. Do it now and help them, because I hear all the time that people are afraid to declutter. One, it is a process. It's a practice. It's a process. It's something that you will get better at. Just when you were a child, you didn't run right away. You had to crawl, then you had to walk, then you got to run. And so it's just something that we need to learn. It's a skill set, not get so down on ourselves when we first start it. But then also know that if we can do it where we love all the things around us, just the light that you and the just you could hear in your voice how wonderful it felt for them to have those moments of joy around their house versus I think a lot of people feel like as they declutter and they let go of things, it's going to feel sparse and stark and they're going to feel like they feel more scarcity around it when they first start. But I think the end result, if you can keep the things that make you happy, it's so much better.
Yeah, and in the KonMari Method, we talk a lot about what is it you want to keep versus what is it that I can get rid of or I don't like or mindset, just to shift us into what is it that is intentionally I already gravitate towards, or that when I see it really makes me happy to use, or even just I know this thing functionally it really helps me, even if I'm not necessarily like super giddy about holding it. I know it really helps me live the life I want to lead. So having that sense of direction around phrasing it as in, it's not so much that you're giving up things, is that you're actually gaining space, you're gaining clarity, you're gaining peace when you let go of the things that aren't really adding to your life and aren't a part of that ideal lifestyle. Because there'll be times I'll ask clients about their ideal lifestyle. They'll list the activities that they want to do, that they want to create for themselves. And then we'll come across something that they never mentioned. 'Cause they had forgotten about it because it was from past versions of their life that they've led. And so it's okay. You forgot that you had this, or this is no longer a priority for you right now, which is okay. We changed our interests and all those things, and that's okay. We are constantly evolving. So it's okay to let that go if it's not in alignment with who you are today.
Yeah. So, what about like people that are going through transition times, right? So, let's say we have a lot of parents that listen to this show. So, let's say they're okay, it's something I did pre kiddo, or and I want to get back to it, but we just don't have the time. What do you do with things like that?
So there's a couple of different techniques that you can think about it is. One is the reality of do you need to keep this stuff? Meaning, could you eventually rent it or borrow it from something? If it's a tennis racket, could you rent it from wherever you're going to play tennis or a friend, that sort of stuff, right? The second I would say is maybe creating a physical limitation for those items that you think that you might revisit. So maybe it's one tub that you say, this is the pre-parenthood, I was really into it, and I think I would love to go back to it. If I had the time, I imagine myself going back to it, but right now in the season, it's not happening. Then I would say, okay, pick those certain activities because obviously your slice of time has changed once you've turned into a parent. So the amount of missed activities is probably going to be look a little different than pre-parenthood. So if you have a physical limitation of, okay, whatever can fit in this box of pre activities, or we talk a lot about with clothing, the body's changing. Going through motherhood is the same idea, is the idea of if I saw it in the store today, would I still even pick it out? If not, probably an indicator that I don't need to keep it. Or the other thing we do is with the thanking, the gratitude is we like to thank the items we say goodbye to. So it's thanking those clothes for that period of your life, so many good memories, so many nights out, whatever it may be, and be like, and I am thanking it and letting it go, or I'm thanking it and blessing it forward. And it just gives that idea of I'm choosing intentionally and I recognize what it did for me or the lessons that it taught. And I'm able to thank that part of it and let it go. So with going back to the clothing aspect is saying, okay, is it something I'm still attracted to wearing? Is it still in good condition? And then it's okay, let me get a physical limitation box or bin, put that stuff in and put maybe a little date of when to revisit it. Because more than likely during this time, you're going to be potentially purchasing new things. And you may realize, okay, the stuff that I'm wearing now really more fits my current needs than all this other stuff. Like, I remember one time, for the first time, I like babysat one of my friend's kids like all day. And the first day I went in there, I was wearing like jeans And afterwards, I was like, "There's no way." I'm wearing jeans. I came back the next time, I was like full on athleisure wear because I would get sweaty. We were out in the sun. I was getting dirty. Like, it didn't fit the needs anymore, that outfit. So I think there's that kind of acknowledgement of what is fitting my current needs.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I remember someone saying to me, or just like reading this the other day about like clothing, and yes, the styles come back around. So like I think it was because I'm shopping with our daughter for back to school, right? Like, oh my God, I had a dress that looked almost identical to that in the 90s, but it's not quite the same. You know, the designers, they're smart. They know they've got to update it just a little bit. The prints are different, the colors are a little different, the cut of the shirt is just different enough, the sleeve is different, that even if all of your things were still in good condition, they still fit, second caveat, you still wouldn't be wearing the same things. You are in a different phase of life. Yes, skinny jeans were all the rage, and then they were out. Now they're back in. I don't know. I don't stay on top of fashion. I wear what I fit at the time, what feels good, but I think they're going to come back in, but they're still not going to be the same as the skinny jeans we had 10 years ago. They're just not. The designers are going to change them because they want to sell more clothes. I think keep what you want, keep what you love, let go of having to be on trend. I now have a junior hire. There's no way I'm going to be cool no matter what anyway to them. I don't care. It is what it is. And we just got to move on.
Yeah, and you wanna be able to open your closet and just feel positively about everything you own. Know that you could wear it and feel good about it. That's the dream, knowing what you have and that you enjoy wearing it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Feel that you feel good in it when you leave the house. And we all have those pants that we put on and we're like, oh, they're kind of, if I tell you or whatever, get rid of them. Just stop forcing things that don't feel good. Just let it go. You'll feel so much better. I would rather wear the same pair of jeans that I feel amazing in every single day than a pair of jeans that I'm just like, I don't really feel great about myself in these.
Yes, and that's where, like, that joy comes in, right? You're, like, leaning into your joy. You're like, "I love this. I don't so much love that."
Yeah, and just getting over that the fact that you're scared to have less. I think some people are very scared to have less because they've just never done it before and they feel like it will feel limiting, but just pack them away and give it a try. If you're really scared, just give it a try and see how it feels after a couple weeks of opening your closet with only the things you love. And yeah.
Yeah, my in fact, the one of my clients had told me, she's like, "It was amazing to me that we had probably gotten rid of 3/4 of my clothes, so I only had a quarter left, but I suddenly felt like I had all these choices, and I was picking them out with joy, and it just felt like a new wardrobe because all those favorite things were, like, hidden behind all the other stuff she wasn't wearing." So it's just interesting that less doesn't mean lesser feelings or lesser experience. It actually amplifies what's most important.
I love that word amplify. That's so good. One of the things I think people struggle with is the guilt of getting rid of stuff. So, like, I'll have a house full of stuff and they're getting rid of it and they don't want it to go to the landfill or they feel guilty about it going to the landfill. How do you help people overcome those emotions?
So that is a super common thing that a lot of my clients definitely struggle with. And it's first kind of a conversation about intentionalism and consumerism, right? Because at the end of the day, actually, everything that we own is eventually going to end up there. Even if we wear it to the very, very last bit, it's eventually going to be done. So, what I talk to my clients about as far as in getting them into the mindset of it's okay to let things go, it's okay to donate things or to throw them away if they are truly tattered or get them recycled in a proper way is that if I basically tell them if your concern is the earth and sustainability, we got to be smarter about intentional choices when it comes to shopping. So, really asking those questions, do I really need this? Do I have something at home that also fulfills this need? Could I borrow it? Do I actually have to own it? Could I buy it secondhand? Like those are all one part of it. The second part is that I tell them you can make such a bigger difference in actually helping the world when you feel at peace in your home and that you can have the clarity to make these decisions responsibly and sustainably and make those choices. And a lot of times they're in a situation where they are trying to hold on to things in order not for it to go to waste, that it is suffocating or clouding judgments and clouding the peace around that. I think there was like some quote that says something along the lines of charity begins at home. And so I like to think in order to change the world, you need to change your local, like your heart and home and start there. So that means getting clutter-free on your home so you can practice decision making, and then it goes into the intentional shopping and consumerism, and then you can start making larger and larger impacts. You can actually start volunteering, which is maybe more impactful than saving one piece of plastic or something like that. I also have I do a lot of research into different resources of where my clients can take things, where there are specific organizations that are asking for specific things. For example, a place like Dress for Success or Working Wardrobe, they specifically look for professional career wardrobes. So being able to tell them, listen, there is actually like, I think there's a big fear of the stuff, even though it goes to a place that it actually won't get into people's hands, which at the end of the day, we don't know exactly what is the end result of anything, but having an organization that specifically is looking for specific things, I think is helpful because they're saying we are specifically looking for those career things. So if you have them, please bring it here because that is the emphasis. The buy nothing groups are also really great because there is that sense. I like to say you're not only building like local community, helping your neighbor, but also you know that someone actually is requesting it or is saying that they could use it. But I think the end result is that in order to make larger, important decisions, it's helpful to come into it with such peace and mental clarity. So getting those things out and starting at home is the best place to really make a difference in the world.
Yeah, as you said that, it actually just clicked in my head too of the more joy you have at home, the less you will want to shop also, because you will feel fulfilled. So it's easier to say, no thanks. Someone's giving away the freebies at the business conference you go to. No thanks. Because you just spent how much time decluttering and getting rid of it. And you don't want all that crap in your house again. I remember the first time I went to a business conference after, I'll just say even the last business conference I went to, it's funny, I do have a Stanley. I have one Stanley. I did not buy this Stanley. I actually won this Stanley and it has been beat up. My daughter had it for a whole year at school and now she has a different water bottle because it doesn't fit in her backpack, a whole thing. Anyway, but I actually do like it because it gets me to drink a lot of water at home. But it's the only one I have, right? I don't have the collection. I didn't get it because of those things. But I went up to the thing and I was like, okay, I got the ticket for winning. And she was like, oh my gosh, you're our first winner. And I'm thinking like, what kind of garbage are you going to give me? I'm here with a very cynical mind that I'm not going to take whatever you have. And she goes, do you want a Stanley or a t-shirt? And I was like, I'm sorry, was that a choice? You actually are giving people this choice. Who's taking the t-shirt? Who's taking the t-shirt? I always hate when people give t-shirts away because I'm like, no one's ever going to wear that. It's going right in, and that's going in the landfill because it's got printing on it. It's screen printed, so you can't recycle it. It's a mess. Don't take t-shirts. Anyway, I'm off my soapbox. But it was interesting because I've gone through the process. And so to then be presented with a choice of, am I actually going to take this thing? Yes, no, what is it? And having a little bit more clarity around it was really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we get sometimes, oh, it's free. Yes. But then really we're like, most of the time, the stuff that's free or swag is not the highest quality, or it's some generic, it's a logo basically. So you are cluttering your place with logos and advertisements. that you eventually most people don't end up using. Another one along the t-shirt, I'm like, we do not need any more tote bags in the universe as well. Reusable totes because people feel like, oh, it's reusable, but not 100 of them.
There's only so many that you need. It's okay. Yeah. And I don't think you can recycle those either.
No, I know. I've taken to when I have to give something to someone, I put it in, I pass it along. I'm like, here's a reusable tote along with your returned whatever or buy nothing group. Like instead of
Take the tote, please. I love it. Oh my gosh. So, for someone who's feeling overwhelmed, even thinking about tidying, I know you talked about starting with intention, but what's a small step that you'd recommend that they can create meaningful momentum and kind of get into it and get into a habit?
yeah, so I think it's always best, and I'm sure you'll hear this a lot, is just to start small. So in the KonMari method, we do tidy by what we call category. So we might say first category is clothing, meaning we would want to go through all your clothing, no matter where it's currently being stored, versus just starting in one room with clothing. So, for example, shoes. There might be some shoes in a bedroom closet, but there might be also some shoes by the front door. There might also be some shoes anywhere else. And it would be bringing, yeah, in the garage. It would be like finding all the shoes in all their different places, bringing them all together so that you can go through them and it's really at that point you're able to get like a true idea of the quantity that you own. And then you can compare the joy level a lot more easier. Usually when you see them side by side, wow, I have this many athletic shoes and clearly I only wear two of them. I'm okay letting go of the three. So I'd say start with categories. And if one category feels like it's too much, so let's say in the shoe category, you're like, Stacey, I have so many shoes. Like doing that feels super, super overwhelming. I would say break it down and continue to break it down. So you could say, okay, today I'm just going to spend 20 minutes going through my tennis shoes or just the dress shoes or just the boots or just the seasonal, whatever it may be, just to in your mind be like, okay, I'm doing a section of the category and I'm feeling complete on it. So that would be my advice is to just start small and then continue to add on it. I would also say don't start with your hardest category, which tends to be like sentimental items. I know those usually are like the areas where people are like, if I just could get that under control. We recommend starting with something like clothing because it is something that you tend to use every day. And so, in the same way that you might, when we exercise, we start with low weights and we graduate to heavier weights. As we get stronger, as our basically, it's a decision-making muscle that we're essentially trying to grow. So we wanna start in an area where you have more practice with those things so that when you get to the hardest category, like sentimental, you're in a much better headspace to make those decisions. So start with something simple, start with something small, and just give yourself 15, 20 minutes on it. You'll probably feel really good and be like, oh, I could maybe do another 15, 20 minutes. And it'll just grow from there. And you're just think of it as growing that decision making muscle.
Yeah. One, I think on clothes, it's also good because it's something that's personal, right? You're not generally sharing your clothes with other people in your family. It's something that's just you. So you can make that decision without having too much overlap or too much. What is this other person going to think if I give this away? I know there's a lot. Some people have a lot of sentimental attachment to clothes, but I love how you broke it down into smaller categories because I do know with the KonMari method, the categories can seem really broad, right? So you think clothing, you're like, oh my God, I've got to get all my clothes out. Like, yeesh, I will admit I did do that incorrectly the first time I tried it, but I love that you broke that down even smaller. So just little bits at a time, do one section of clothing, do your t-shirts, do your pants, and if that's even too much, get down to your work shirts, your casual shirts. So yeah, that's really helpful. And I could have used that tip when I first started my decluttering journey as well. So we all learn, everyone, we learn. It's okay. It's a process.
It's totally a process. And these are also guidelines, right? But we also think about, at least when I work with my clients, about this particular person's challenges or their specific routines and their flow in how we organize and declutter.
Have you ever encountered resistance, like when you're introducing the idea of sparking joy? I think maybe we talked about it a little bit at the beginning, but something I didn't mention was I remember when the KonMari Method came out and people like a silly meme going around being like, I threw out my bras and my toilet brush and all this stuff because they didn't spark joy. Okay, clearly. So if we're not being pedantic about it, have you, other than that, experienced kind of any pushback against that sparking joy idea, and how have you helped people reframe it?
Yeah, so I will say that question doesn't resonate with everyone, and that's okay. It's I like to say is that's the starter question. That's the opener question because really we go deeper than that. And there are different types of joy, right? So there's the direct joy, which is I know that I love this, makes me happy. I have positive experiences. I have positive emotions with it. I don't want to give it up. Joy. Then there's the stuff that we talk about is like when people joke pedantically about like, well, laundry doesn't bring me joy, but if I threw out all my laundry, I'd have no clothes. So I think that there is another sense of joy, which is like we call like functional joy, which tend to be things that we take for granted, but they allow us to do the things that we want to do. So if you took the laundry thing of saying, I don't like to do laundry, it doesn't bring me joy. Having laundry is actually an indicator that you have clothes to wear. So we start looking at it from the gratitude standpoint of having clothes to wear and having probably a washer and dryer at your disposal to wash and dry them. And the act of laundry is either self care for yourself or self care for someone in your family. So when you're folding it or when you're putting it away from someone, it is an act of love. So taking a few steps back into, okay, maybe the activity of it isn't something that I would love to dedicate my entire Saturday to. Knowing that having this is really actually a form of functional joy, and I am very, at the end of the day, grateful that I have this to do is a way to look at it to remind yourself that there is a sense of joy in having that and having that opportunity and to be grateful for it. Now, from there, you can let's take a step back into what about the laundry situation is not joyful? And that's where we start to problem solve about routines, maybe the way the hampers are, maybe the time management around when you do laundry. Maybe it's instead of having socks of different colors, you're like, I'm just going to have white socks of all the same type. So I don't ever have to match them. I can grab any two white socks. It's really figuring out ways to make sure that the things that you own really support your lifestyle. And if you are having any kind of block in there, that's where we want to look at what that block is, that unjoyful block, and kind of take an approach of how do we solve that? How do we remove that friction so that it is easier for you? It's not one less thing for you if that is a real issue for you. There's different, I know you can go online and feel like, I have this different laundry technique of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or someone was like, I only do it on Friday, or I only do bedding on these particular days. But it's really like thinking about what will work for you, but it's not necessarily like the stuff itself, unless you realize you are doing laundry on things you don't like to wear.
Good point. And then you can start to cut that down. But yeah, I love that idea of functional joy. And I love how you separate that out from the just immediate, like, absolutely love that thing. And it lights me up and it is a quirk about me, or it is the thing that I defines a little bit about who I am, versus I have these other things that, yes, allow me then to live that life and let me do the things that I want to be doing or need to be doing, or showing the love. I love that idea of, yeah, thinking about that as you're folding laundry too. Okay, yeah, folding laundry sure isn't my favorite, but if you can think about it of, I'm doing this because I love my family, or maybe you're all doing it together, but just having that moment of intention, right? Back to the intention, back to the gratitude, back to the appreciation of the life you actually have, and finding those good bits and just putting that little extra spark from yourself into it, I think will make that process a lot more enjoyable. Oh, that is so great. I love that. I love that idea.
Yeah, just a teeny little mindset shift. And I think that's so powerful.
Yeah. All right. Before we wrap up, I want to ask you one more question because I think this is how we started this episode. So, beyond tidying in and of itself, how does cultivating these tidy spaces help people supercharge their lifestyles and joy, and maybe in ways that they don't expect?
So I touched upon it a little bit saying that the things that we own really support our lifestyles. So when we remove everything that is not supportive of us, we can really allow the things, our priorities and activities and how we want to be spending our time, those sorts of things can really shine. One example I can think of is I worked with a client on her like arts and crafts area. She is an avid sewer. She is a very DIY person, and her whole thing was like, this whole area becomes a cluster, like, 'cause I'm just collecting all these things, and there's all these projects I wanna do, so we went through it, and then afterwards, she said, "Stacy, I love it so much, like, I find myself sewing more. I find myself doing more arts and crafts because there is more peace around it, and I really handpicked and selected these inspiring supplies, really, that that allow me to do the thing I wanna do, which to enjoy the thing I wanna do, which is to sew and do arts and crafts and that sort of stuff." So I think that by removing things, we actually allow ourselves to focus in on the things that are most important to us. And that really supercharges our lives for joy because we're able to do the things that we want to do.
Yeah, you don't have to dig out the thing you want. It's not hidden under all the other stuff that you have. It's not tucked away. You don't have to move it out before you get to enjoy the thing. Yeah. Oh, so good. All right, Stacey, where can people find you? I know they're going to want to find out more about you and follow up.
Yeah, so my website is minimally minimal, spelled Minimal, and then EE. It's a play on my last name, Lee. Dot me is my website, and I'm on Instagram at minimally.me. And I'm also on Facebook, facebook.com/stacy.minimally. Would love to connect with you, Shira.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll put the links in the show notes so people can click on through, make that really simple so they can follow up with you and find out more. And yeah. But before I go, I ask everyone 3 rapid fire questions. We'll keep them nice and quick. So, number 1, what does clutter free mean to you?
Clutter free means to me letting go of the things that are getting in the way of what's most important to you. So minimizing to emphasize, essentially.
Ooh, fun. Number 2, what is making you happy right now or in the season of your life?
So right now I'm getting a lot of joy from reading. My friends and I have a book club going, which has been really fun. And right now I am reading Tiny Beautiful Things by Cheryl Strayed and listening to my first audiobook actually called Fighting for Our Friendships by Danielle Bayard Jackson. Both have excellent so far if anyone is looking for recommendations.
Nice. Oh, I'm a huge audiobook fan. I love my Libby app. I am constantly having to fight the urge to listen to a fiction book. And number 3, what is a goal you have for yourself this year?
Recently, my husband has gotten really into golf. And I've never played golf before, but I did play my first round recently. So I actually think that a goal of mine is to practice and get some lessons going so I can improve my game. And it is a hobby that we could both enjoy together. So that's on my mind at the moment.
Oh, very fun. That's a fun one. I love it. All right, Stacey, thanks again for a wonderful interview and helping people out today.
Thank you so much for having me, Deanna.
I really enjoyed this conversation with Stacey because it's always a good reminder that tidying and organizing isn't just about the stuff, right? The physical stuff in our homes. It's really about creating the environment and the systems that help you thrive, not just survive through each season of life. And as we head into fall, it is a great time to check in with yourself in your home. Are your spaces supporting you and your routines? Are your schedules bringing you joy or are they stressing you out? Is it something that you really can make a shift in? And sometimes these smallest shifts in your environment can lead to the biggest shifts in your mindset and in your well being, in your lifestyle, and make a real positive change for your families. But I would love to hear your takeaways from today's episode. So share your thoughts with me on Instagram. I'm at wannabeclutterfree. You can tag me in your stories, or you can just join the discussion over on Facebook. We have a group over there, the Wannabe Minimalist Family Group. You can also leave a comment on this episode on Spotify, YouTube, the website. That's wannabeclutterfree.com/273. And then also you can leave a rating on Apple Podcasts if you like. And those are some of the best ways to support the show. All right, special thanks to Stacy for joining us and sharing her insights on how the KonMari Method can extend beyond just our closets and into our everyday daily lives. Again, you can find more details, resources, and all of Stacy's links in the show notes at wannabeclutterfree.com/273. Again, wannabeclutterfree.com/273. And don't forget to join me next week for a solo episode. I believe it's part 7, but we're continuing the Clutter Freedom Find Your Number series, and we will be talking about notifications and how digital clutter affects your life and how we can make some steps to start clearing it. Take some steps to start clearing it. All right, until next time, take care, keep things simple, be open to letting go of more. Try out the KonMari Method and just look at things from a perspective of joy and see how you feel about them. Remember, I believe in you. I know you can do it if you put your mind to it. All right, I'm Deanna Yates, and you've been listening to Wanna Be Clutter Free. I'll see you next week. Cheers.